All right, so let's talk about what just happened at the UN. Chris Bowen, our climate and energy minister, decided to take his climate crusade global. And honestly, watching that speech, you kind of have to ask, who let this guy out on the world stage? Look, this isn't about disagreeing on climate change. Most people agree we need to be smart and responsible about the environment, but what Bowen did over in New York wasn't about smart or responsible. It was panic. It was theater. It was climate hysteria on full display, and it made Australia look like we're completely disconnected from reality. He stood there at the United Nations talking about climate denial taking on new forms, warning the world about all-too-hardism, and acting like Australia is the lone hero in a global climate war. Meanwhile, our emissions? 1%. That's it. 1%. But here we are, copping the economic consequences of doing all the heavy lifting, while China, India, and the US keep doing their thing. And Bowen's answer to that? Keep pushing even harder, spend more, transition faster, shut down more baseload power, and if you question it, you're either a denier or a delayer. That's the game now. You're either with him or you're the problem. And I think that's what really set people off back home. Not just the content of what he said, but the arrogance of it. He wasn't speaking on behalf of Australians, he was performing for the global stage. And that's where people like Danica DeMolishes from Sky News stepped in and said what so many of us were thinking, who is this guy actually representing? Because it sure doesn't feel like he's representing the average Aussie family trying to keep the lights on and afford groceries in the middle of a cost of living crisis. It doesn't feel like he's representing regional communities watching their industries get regulated out of existence. It feels like he's representing the activists, the NGOs, the international green elites who cheer you on while your economy falls apart. And let's be honest, DeGiorgio didn't hold back. She called it out for what it was, climate hysteria, ideology over evidence, global virtue signaling at the expense of national interests. And the reaction to her takedown? It's been huge. Not just online, but in the media, in parliament, in business circles. People are finally saying what they've been biting their tongues about for months. Because this isn't just about one bad speech. It's about a pattern. Bowen has turned the energy portfolio into a platform for ideology. He's not managing a transition. He's accelerating a demolition. And it's reckless. The reality is you can't run a modern economy on hope and wind turbines. We're shutting down coal before we have anything reliable to replace it. We're promising net zero with no idea how we're going to actually achieve it. We're telling industries to innovate while hitting them with more red tape and higher costs. And somehow Bowen thinks this is leadership? It's not leadership. It's detachment from reality. And here's where it gets even worse. He's not just promoting unrealistic goals. He's making international commitments based on them. Publicly, on record, at the UN. And guess who's footing the bill when those promises come due? You. Me. Every taxpayer in this country. We're talking massive spending, subsidies, infrastructure overhauls, all based on projections that economists are already poking holes in. And when people ask for the modeling, the data, the plan, we get vague answers, buzzwords, and more speeches. Meanwhile, energy bills are rising. Grid stability is falling. And families are being told to cut back while the government keeps patting itself on the back for leading the world. It's not just media commentators raising alarm bells anymore. Industry leaders are worried. Trade experts are warning about the economic risks. Even some environmental groups are quietly saying Bowen's messaging is doing more harm than good. Because when you push too hard, too fast, without a real plan, people push back. And that's exactly what's starting to happen. But here's the thing that should really worry the government. Danica DeMolishes isn't some fringe commentator. She's a respected journalist with a track record of holding both sides to account. When someone like that starts questioning whether a minister should even be allowed to represent Australia on the world stage, that's serious. And the fact that it's resonating with so many people across political lines, that tells you this isn't just partisan noise. It's a genuine concern about competence, priorities, and whether our leaders even understand the consequences of what they're doing. Because this isn't theoretical. It's real. It's your job, your bills, your future. And when someone like Chris Bowen gets up in front of the world and makes big promises without a clear, credible plan, that affects all of us. So yeah, people are asking the question, is this guy even fit for the job? Is he representing Australia, or is he representing a global activist movement that doesn't have to live with the fallout of failed policies? And if the answer is the latter, then we've got a serious problem. Because when international leaders look at Australia, they're not just judging our energy policy. They're judging our seriousness, our reliability, our strategic judgment. And if they see ministers making wild claims and unrealistic pledges, they start to wonder what else we're not being honest about. That's how trust erodes. That's how international credibility gets damaged. And once that happens, it's very hard to win back. So the question now is simple. Will government double down on Bowen's approach, or will they listen to the growing number of Australians across the political spectrum who are saying enough is enough? We need energy policy that works in the real world. We need ministers who understand economics as well as ideology. And we need to stop pretending that being the most aggressive climate warrior on the block is something to be proud of when our people are paying the price. This isn't about denying climate change. It's about demanding competence, balance, reality. And if Chris Bowen can't deliver that, maybe it's time for someone else to take the wheel. Thanks for watching. If you're tired of the spin and want more honest takes on what's really going on in Canberra, hit that like button, leave a comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's keep holding our leaders accountable because they work for us, not the other way around. See you in the next one.